What's going on, everybody? Flash Jones here, barreling down the rails, right back at you. And in this one, I've got that long-awaited layout update. So, without further ado, here we go. Now, in order for you guys to fully grasp the magnitude of all of the changes that were made, we actually got to take a step back, rewind the video a little bit, and go back in the past what the layout looked like before construction, or should I say deconstruction, started. So, going back into the past, approximately just a few days before I literally started construction on all of the new changes, you guys can see as I got trains moving about, I got my yard that was installed on the other half of my layout, the opposite end of Bandini, where the Bandini Mountains are, where that stone foam wall video came from, and also with the Bandini DSF, where I did the lighting of the shop video. This is the opposite side of the layout, right? As you see the trains moving about, you also see the yard that I put in. Now, this was a yard just because I wanted to get all my rolling stock out. That way I can always have access to it at a grasp, right? At a finger's reach. But I quickly realized by having all of my rolling stock out, the layout really didn't have much purpose. It just was a layout for running trains, which most layouts are. But there was no switching really involved in the layout, but there also was no real scenery on the layout either. And I wanted to have one or the other. Obviously, I really don't have a whole lot of space to get the amount of switching that person I would like to have. So I decided to go the route of having the scenery. So as you're going to see, the scenery and at least the beginning steps of trying to achieve that vision is going to start to take place. So just progressing on throughout the day here, just getting a lot of my rolling stock off the rails. As you can see, a lot of these tracks, out of the 10 tracks, only a couple tracks have cars left on them. And at this point, I'm just getting the cars off, putting them away. That way I can get these tracks pulled up. I didn't glue any of these tracks down. I just screwed them down with this particular screw, and just unscrew those, put the tracks up. Some of them had to be cut down. That way they can be moved out of the way. But other than that, I just kept on making progress. So we're at a point now throughout the day where I'm again just showing exactly what the ladder and the throat of the yard kind of look like, and also what the entire yard looks like naked. Also, if you may be able to see where this first little gap in the sub row bed and the bitch work is, where the foam there's a little gap. You guys can see how it kind of bows and comes to a little bit of a point right here. For most cars in my fleet of rolling stock, most cars don't have an issue. The intermodal cars have absolutely no issue with them. But the cars that have the most issue with them are these ScaleTrains auto racks, with that coupler that ScaleTrains uses on their couplers. Now I'm going to get into that later on in the video, but that was one of the reasons why Bridges went in areas like that to kind of future-proof the layout, to make sure that those uncouplings and sometime derailments would be prevented. So now I got an order in from Midwest Model Railroad. Shout out to them. Great customer service, great turnaround shipping. These are some of the things that I got. Obviously all the bridges that I got, I think minus one, I think I ended up getting off Amazon. But the Pratt truss bridge, the modernized double track truss bridge, and the Pratt deck truss bridge, as well as some other little knickknacks as well. Some things to go over for Bandini, some of the abutments and piers, the overhead traveling crane set, the sanding set, and the heavy duty crane set. All additional details and things that I want to add some variety to Bandini DSF. That way, again, to add some variety and some life to the layout, because one day, again, we'll have a bunch of extra stuff in there as well. So now I'm showing you guys what the layout looks now with all 10 of those tracks ripped up and the screws removed and everything. Everything's gone, and I'm at this point where I'm just kind of staging a lot of the stuff. As you guys are starting to see now, is I have all 11 bridges laid out here in front of me. Because I'm trying to get a good idea of where things are going to go. Again, I'm not using an official track plan or anything to place these things. I'm kind of just laying out a vision in my mind and going forth with it. So a while back when I did that stone foam wall video, I think I remember saying that anytime you are laying new track, unless you have access to a computer to do your track plan on a computer, anytime you lay your track, you want to take your longest cars, any cars that give you the most fits, and run them around the track and the fashion which you want to lay to see. Just double check your clearances. Make sure that everything clears, any obstacles or corners or walls or structures, and also to make sure that your cars can negotiate the curves without derailing and without binding. And you'll know your car's binding because if your cars are naturally free rolling, like a lot of Walthers and Scale Trains cars, most manufacturers, but every now and again you'll get cars that don't free roll too well. Make sure you have your cars that free roll and see how they negotiate the curve. If they bind, that means the curve is too tight. It needs to flow under its own weight without anyone pushing it. It needs to flow without issue. And that is essentially what I was doing here, in addition to trying to see exactly the locations I wanted to place 2 of the 4 Pratt deck truss bridges. All right, folks, so remember we're talking about whenever you lay new track, you always want to test out your track with your cars that give you the most fits. And as you guys can see, I left the volume up so that you can hear this Walthers Proto auto rack kind of glide through the curve and up and down kind of the undulation, if you will, of the track. Obviously on that farther end where the electrical panel is, it's not going to go up and come back down. That's just, I needed to have another piece there to kind of bridge the gap. That way I can kind of set up this little test so that you guys can see what I was talking about. But you want your cars to glide through your curves and not bind and sound like they're getting stuck and get hung up in there. And looky here, folks. So I've gotten started. I've laid down that Woodland Scenics incline set, and I've gone down with some of the Midwest cork roadbed, and then I transitioned into using the Woodland Scenics roadbed for HO scale, obviously, as well. Nice transition, no issues there. I didn't even really need to sand it down, but I did just a little bit, just make sure that that little edge off the cork wouldn't be sharp and impact the track. Might as well do it now so that you don't have any problems later on if you're going to go this route. And now taking a look at the other end of the layout where would be the decline, but if you're going the opposite direction would be, again, the incline. I've gotten that track ripped out where you guys saw me testing that one little car, that auto rack, to make sure that the curve and everything was good. I've done the exact same thing on this end. So trying to pull both ends together, just like they did the Great Continental Railroad when they built the railroads across the U.S. They started at one end, started at the other, and just built across. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. So if you guys have been following me on my Instagram page, you guys would have seen this video right here, where I've gotten more of that foam laid, where I've gotten the Woodland Scenics cork laid all the way up to where I'm going to have the 2 Pratt deck truss bridges, and then with more of that pink foam butting up to where I'm going to have the bridges start to cross the river. Right. So if you track along, once you come out of the corner, which I call carpet corner, which you guys will see here in a minute, once you come on out of that corner, that entire corner is going to be eventually covered with trees, and that entire curve, if you will, you're not going to be able to see it anymore, right? Because I want to hide some of the turnbacks, if you will, right? So you're going to come out of carpet corner, come on up the hill, right? Hit these first 2 Pratt deck truss bridges and keep on going across the bridges, the three double track bridges across the river, right? And then back down the hill, eventually back out towards Bandini DSF. All right, good people. So I'll give you a quick overview right quick before going in and looking at some of the intricate details of what all exactly has been changed. Obviously, all the trains are stopped. Had to bring them all and put them on stop because trying to record a video and monitoring trains with not when all the kinks have not been completely ironed out, it's a bit challenging. So decided to put it all on stop for a moment, get the video recorded, get it out to you guys, make trains go again. So back over here in this corner, as you guys can see, the incline starts there on the as the curve pretty much starts right there. You can tell there where that cardboard is. Cardboard is just there as a spacer to make sure that the track is even and begins to rise levelly and steadily, right? Continuing on up. This is the Woodland Scenics 4% incline set. Got the first set of bridges that were crossed. This was, if you guys remember, or if you've been following the channel, this is the Walther's Cornerstone, a 109-foot Pratt deck truss bridge. I have two of them here. One on the inside, one on the out, mains 1 and main 2 here. You guys can see I just took some cardboard and kind of ripped it. If you know how cardboard operates, most people do that. It's kind of got that waffly in between. That kind of helps it to be rigid. I just took that layer off and just used that top layer without that middle piece to give me the height that I needed to make sure that the track was completely level on through here. But yeah, so you got two of the 4 109-foot Pratt deck truss bridges. Come across some pink foam here. Guys, you see I got my feeder started. I gotta figure out exactly what my plans are going to be for the bridge track, and I'll talk about that here in a moment. But this is both that foam there that looks kind of blackish pinkish, and the foam there. This is the 2-inch foam that you just get at your local home improvement store. It is a 2-inch foam, and I just took obviously 2 inches and cut them to the size and shape that I needed, and made that for 4 inches because that is the ending height. So you start at, you start level and you climb up to 4 inches over 8 feet. So over 8 feet, you climb 4 inches. But so you got your 2 bridges there, and then obviously got my tri-spanned bridge set that I've created here. First one up is the Walther's Cornerstone modernized double track truss bridge. Second out is the Walther's Cornerstone arched Pratt truss bridge. Beautiful model. And third out is another Walther's Cornerstone modernized double track truss bridge. All 3 bridges part of a set that will be used to cross the river. We'll go into that here in a moment as well, and we'll talk in greater detail about that. But continuing on down the line, we have the other 2 Walther's Cornerstone 109-foot Pratt deck truss bridges. A little bit more pink foam. Continue on down the line. You have the Walther's Cornerstone 90-foot through deck girder bridge. I have both of those here. Now we start obviously downhill. The back track stays level. It stays level, and once it comes off of that bridge down around the curve, as the front track starts actually back downhill, the back track doesn't actually start downhill. So essentially right there, you guys can see the difference in the foam, at least in the width there. See the difference in the foam. So right there on the left, on that the tank car that you see the letters on, the K and the M, that's where that 1% grade begins downhill on the back track. Okay, continuing on down the line, have the other two bridges that I have built. These are the two Walther's Cornerstone 70-foot through deck girder bridges. And obviously more of the Woodland Scenics incline decline set that essentially will bring you all the way on down the hill. So if you guys remember, back when I was when I released the bridges for specifically the 70-foot through deck girder bridge and the 90-foot through deck girder bridge, if you guys recall, I was talking about parts number 13 or 14. I think it was part 14, that will allow you to create double track through deck girder bridges. And why I did not go that route, obviously, when I have a double mainline railroad. This is the reason why. I wanted to have the ability to have some track separation, because back there where the pop cans are, I wanted to have the ability to add a bit more scenery, a little bit more variety, and just a little bit more flavor to the layout. And by having it that way, obviously I've got the track separation here. I've got the ability to add scenery, add signals, possibly some structures of some kind, but I've just given myself more opportunity to do something else, a little bit more different, and just not kind of standard in the hobby of just keeping everything very, very, very uniform. So I kind of wanted just to add a little pizzazz, to the layout. Side note, the track in the back is from the original track plan. Some of it is still there. Some of it's been ripped up. A lot of it on the far back end down there has been ripped out. And some of it that is here on our end here is still in place too. I did use a lot of that rail that from those tracks to create the bridge track that was both used to help create the bridge track here. As you guys can see, there are 4 rails down in there, as well as the bridge track here. This is a separate bridge track that came with the arched Pratt deck truss bridge. I did also get standard Walther's Cornerstone, or standard Walther's, I think, code 83 bridge track. So if we were to draw a line, and I guess I'll go ahead and use my meter stick, the river is essentially going to start somewhere in about this area. If you use the center line of the bridge that you guys can kind of see there, use the center line of the bridge, that both the modernized bridges that are on either side, use the center line of the bridge. That's kind of where I want the river, lake, or the water to start, if you will, right? So the water is going to start somewhere in this area, at least maybe even this line. My whole main thought and purpose is I want the piers, and I want the piers to remain in the water. Now, these are not the piers that I am planning to use. I may go with these piers, and these are not like, some fancy old piers. All these are is one of the pink foam, that's the 2-inch, and then one that's the 1-inch. You guys can see the 1-inch that's back there in the background. That's a 1-inch piece. This is a 2-inch piece. So, and I just put them together because they came out to be the right height, because it's not 4 inches. The height of the rail head is 4 inches above the subroad bed. But for the bridges, it needed to be about 3 inches and change for it to be roughly completely level. If you look at a regular level, it's practically dead on. dead on straight across the bridges. But with the digital level, you guys can see there's a little bit of fluctuation in there. But I got the digital level in there. Again, if you're looking at a level normally, you'd see that and you think perfect, dead on. Maybe just a slight dip closer to the other line than it is the other, but you always want that bubble between the lines. Obviously, the digital level tells you exactly what the difference is from where you are from perfectly horizontal. And so, again, the plan is for at least, if not this line here, this line, but the water would be from here essentially to there. And then obviously the river is going to come out towards the front of the layout, which brings me to my second conundrum. And I hadn't thought this far, honestly. I knew I was going to have to do something as far as putting a bridge, over troubled waters, if you will, here in the front, but I hadn't gotten to what I was going to do as far as how to get across the river. So I've already picked up a another Walther's kit, and I'll show you guys that. I've already picked up another Walther's kit, and hopefully I can use that to span the river. And I was kind of doing some measurements again with my old trusty yardstick here. And so what I'm thinking is, as I'll go ahead and lay out my yardstick, using the yardstick as a reference, if the river, and obviously it's not exact right now, but if the river starts at this line here, okay, if the river starts there, it's roughly 36 inches to the other line, right? And I'll show you guys that this way too. So from end to end, 34 inches. I'm going to call it 35. That way I have more wiggle room. So if it's 35 inches from end to end, the Walther's kit that I picked up is roughly 20 inches long. Obviously, I have 15 more inches of space that needs to be eaten up because of the river. So what I'm thinking is, if I buy a third Walther's Cornerstone double track truss bridge, if I get another one, then I can have the approaches to the bridge offset. I can have that space eaten up by the new Walther's concrete bridge set to cross the main portion of the river over a double track truss bridge. Now that's just my preliminary thought. Let me know what you guys think about that. But I don't want to hold you guys too long. That's a thought, at least for the layout right now. Anyhow, I had a couple other things that I wanted to get to, but I will actually save that for the next layout update. I've already written them down. That way I do hit them for you guys next time. In the meantime, I appreciate you guys stopping by to watch the video. Let me know what you guys think about this. A lot of new changes here on the layout. Went from an entire yard here on this side from what you're seeing to now what's going to be a river or creek or a lake scene with a bunch of new bridges and a lot of new track done and potentially some terrain. But again, I will save that for next time. Please, you guys made it this far, so go ahead and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a comment, share your thoughts and opinions. And until next time, oh, almost forgot, follow me over there at FlashJonesTrains over on my Instagram channel, Instagram page. I always post a couple things there. I'm actually about to post something here in a little bit that you guys are not going to see in this video, but you will see in the next one. But again, Instagram gets sneak peeks. So with all that being said, thank you guys. Till next time, be blessed, stay safe, and of course, keep it on the rails. All right, Flash Jones, see you next time. Peace.